So once they're round, what you need to do is gently hammer them on a wooden block to make sure they're flat. If you hammer on metal, the metal doesn't give, and it's really difficult to get something flat, where when you hammer on wood, the wood gives a little bit, and that's what you have to do to bend metal to a precise shape. You actually have to bend it slightly farther than you want, and it will spring back. So that's the idea. That's why we use wood. Take your time, get them as flat as humanly possible, and then we're going to take 400 grade paper, put it on the bench, make sure there are no little lumps underneath, and we're going to just sand one side slightly so that we've got nice little flats happening in the ring, and that way we'll put those two sides together. So only do one side of each ring. So put your two flat sides together, line them up. It can be slightly off and it'll still look okay, but it would be nice if they were lined up like that. And then we're going to solder it using hard solder. And I would like to solder all the way around. Once again, it's not critical, but it would be nice. It would make it a more solid feature. And binding wire probably in 2 places to hold it until you get a couple of places soldered. Then you can take the binding wire off and solder the rest. You could also just lay this flat on a charcoal block and place your solder either outside or inside, it doesn't matter, and solder it that way. I'm going to try just doing this flat. And I'm using my large solder snippers. So we'll flux both rings, fairly generous amount of flux. Stir up your flux, make sure that it's creamy, and then we'll place bits of solder with our flux brush, and we'll just lay them flat on the ring like that, and then we'll flux the other ring and sit it on top. Now you can see I have a generous amount of solder on here. And what we want to do is locate our join, and we want to put the joins opposite each other. Yep. So just make sure they're opposite each other, or at least not directly lined up. If they're directly lined up with each other, we'll stand a chance of sucking the solder out of the join. We don't want to do that. So gently heat this up. Gently is the word, because we don't want the solder to jump off. We just want the flux to dry so that it holds the solder in place, so that when we put this one on, it stays in place. So you can see I'm just quickly circling and then backing away. Take your time. This is another one of those things you don't want to hurry. Actually, jewelry in general, you don't want to hurry. You just take the time it takes. Be calm. So line up your rings. Make sure that your pattern is lined up the way you want it, and that the rings are as close to perfectly lined up as you can get. I use the tweezers. Yep. So now we need to get the rings as close to the same temperature as possible, and what I'm going to do is circle just to the inside. So I'll circle the inside, the outside, the inside, the outside. Just back and forth. Neutral flame. Inside, outside. And like all of our other soldering, the flux will go clear and the solder will run. We should be getting close. So there it goes. Quench it, pickle it, and have a look. And if there are a couple of bits that haven't soldered, you can just tap them gently with your rawhide hammer. It'll close it, and then you can solder it again. I'll go back over the ring, make sure it's soldered everywhere. I just hang mine on my third hand and go around and pick solder. And quench it, pickle it, and have a look. So out of the pickle, dry it, have a look, make sure it's soldered to your taste. With these, if they're soldered in 3 or 4 places, that's usually enough, just to hold it together. Check that your original solder joins are good, if you can find them. If you can't find them, that means you did them perfectly. And I use the dark abrasive disc on my Fordham handpiece. This is a medium grade abrasive. And polish it. Hallmark it, of course. And if you can find the join, go opposite the join, otherwise hallmark it. Polish it and we're done. So there it is, polished.